And TGIF, everybody. Welcome into the First Call podcast. Alongside Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. We do this each and every Friday. Special welcome to those of you watching within the first Pegasus World Cup wager guide. We've got all the stats, the trends, the data, the artificial intelligence, the human intelligence, the subhuman intelligence. We've got it all for you in the wager guide. Be sure to check out all the information to set you up for the big day at Gulfstream Park. Jeff, windows are open. Early bird wagering at ExpressBet and FirstBet for tomorrow's full card at Gulfstream Park. Available now on Friday as you get ready for a big Saturday. If you got something going on, football games to go to, shopping with the family, whatever, you can get in now and wager on that Pegasus World Cup card. And you and I are going to get to handicap many of the big stakes races this week.
Challenging card, but good. Sometimes it's challenging because you're trying to beat a 1-2 shot that you know you can't beat. Mm-hmm. But in these races, there are several ways you can go, and you can find a middle price if you like them. And I think the Gulfstream card is fantastic. Hopefully the weather will hold. I expect that it will. And we've got some big races around the country that we will attack as well, Oakland and Santa Anita. But the Gulfstream Park card is worth challenging, worth diving in, and that's exactly what we're going to do today.
They are off the turf today at Gulfstream, been off the turf most of the week with wet weather. Supposed to dry out tomorrow. Part of being off the turf during the week is to preserve the course for the big racing Saturday at Gulfstream Park. So keep an eye on the sky and the conditions there, but hopefully we'll be back on the grass for Saturday. We're going to handicap in the assumption that we will be. For those of you watching on X or on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and comment in the comment section for this. Help us grow the audience. For those of you listening on our longtime audio podcast channels, here are the races Jeff and I are going to handicap over the next half hour or so. For Saturday, the 25th of January, we'll go to Gulfstream Park for 6 of the stakes races on Pegasus World Cup Day's 13-race card. We'll start things off with the Fred W. Hooper in race number 8, and we'll just take them right down the line. The 9th, the McKnight, the 10th, the Philly Mare Turf for the Pegasus World Cup races. Inside information, then the Pegasus World Cup Turf, and we'll wrap it up with the $3 million main event, the 9th running of the Pegasus World Cup. To Oakland Park, we'll go for the $1 million Southwest Stakes, 20 Kentucky Derby qualifying points on the line to the top horse in that one. We've got a great matchup we'll talk about there. At Santa Anita, the San Pasqual, prep for the Santa Anita Handicap coming up in about a month's time on March the 1st. San Pasqual for the older horses. We'll handicap that one for you at the end of the podcast. Want to remind you that if you're playing with FirstBet and ExpressBet this weekend, be sure to look at those Pegasus World Cup races. The 3 big Pegasus main events, the Philly Mare Turf, the Turf, and the Pegasus World Cup proper, all have up to a $10 money back special on your win bets. If your win bet in any of those 3 races finishes second or third, you'll get up to $10 back in wagering credits into your account. And also, if you're playing the multi-race wagers on Saturday at Gulfstream, and there are many, playing with FirstBet and ExpressBet, because we've got 5 million first rewards points up for grabs in a series of hit and splits. The early pick 5, the late pick 5, and the late pick 4 all have those provisions where if you hit those late pick 5, pick 4, the early pick 5, you will take down not only the pari-mutuel winnings, but your share of 5 million first rewards points. And of course, those points can be redeemed for wagering credits in your account. Most importantly, also handicapping products in the pro shop, swag, all kinds of things you can use the first rewards points for. So be sure to play. Opt into the promo when you bet with us each and every week. And for more help on those multi-race bets, be sure to check out our blog section, expressbet.com and news.first.com. As Scott Shapiro's got his look at those different sequences. We've got plenty of handicapping for you inside the wager guide for sure. So go to first.com/guide and access the free first wager guide for Pegasus World Cup Day at Gulfstream Park. Jeff, let's start things off in race number 8. It's the Fred W. Hooper Stakes. Fred Hooper, of course, the longtime owner, renowned owner in horse racing, owned Hoop Jr., the winner of the 1945 Kentucky Derby. More modern times, Precisionist, the big name of his horses that he owned. He lived to the ripe age of 102, Fred W. Hooper. And Jeff, brings up some sad news in racing as we talk a little bit about the history of these races. Ted Bassett, one of the longtime managers and one of the icons of Keeneland, passed away yesterday at the age of 103. So on a day when we talk about the Hooper Stakes and Mr. Hooper living to, the beautiful age of 102, Ted Bassett passed away yesterday at 103. That gives a little hope to all of us, Jeff. Hope is eternal. Life isn't. But those guys through racing got into their, triple digits. I don't know how long we're going to make it, but just a blessing to have those people around for so long.
Right. Yeah. No, racing can can extend your life if you got a good 2-year-old. You know that.
That's what they say.
I'm not dying until this horse runs in the Derby, and then you get another one. You keep going for a while. So, but I actually knew Mr. Hooper when I was working at Hollywood Park when I first got into the business in 1974, and he was an advisor at that time, and I remember he was brought in to analyze the soil at Hollywood Park because that track had taken some hits in terms of its reputation of being too hard. So I remember working with him. I wasn't doing anything, just following him around. But I mean, I remember he was a nice man. He really was, even at that ripe old age of what was, he had to be 80 or 90 at the time, but he was sharp as a tack. And and because of that, one of my favorite race mares of all time was Susan's Girl, if you remember her. She was a fantastic race mare. So this race named after Mr. Hooper. I don't know if this is the greatest race in the world. It's a challenging race. I ended up here with Rocket Can, and I didn't want to because he won his last start. And what I noticed about Rocket Can and most of the older handicap runners in that area, they always seem to take turns. And Rocket Can won a race, an allowance race back at Oaklawn. Took him 5 races to finally win another one. That was the Harlan's Holiday, and I'm not sure if he's going to take another 5 to get back in the winner's circle. But he did look good winning. He also earned a career top 99 Beyer number. So at age 5, he's obviously in peak form. Now the question is, can Rocket Can run 2 alike? And he's backing up from 2 turns to 1 turn, the 1-turn mile, which I don't think will bother him. In fact, I think he'll do fine, son of a mischief. So I went with him. But I don't have any great conviction one way or the other. I tried to find a horse to beat him, and I didn't really find anything that I liked. I almost defaulted to Upstanding, the Todd Pletcher gelding who just broke his maiden. I was looking for a fresh face, and he did so with a 97 Beyer number, which puts him right there. The only problem with Upstanding is that he won that race on the lead with a slow opening quarter, so it probably was a race that made him look a lot better than he is. But that's what I was looking for, and I couldn't quite bring myself to do that. So I settled for Rocket Can, hoping that he can run just like he did in his last start, which was 3rd week of December.
He won the Harlan's Holiday last time out over Tumba Rumba, who's the defending champion here in the Hooper. In fact, 3 of the top 4 finishers in that race last time the Harlan's Holiday are back. So let's take a look at it with Pete Aiello's call at Gulfstream. Winner in that one, Tumba Rumba was trying to get the victory, but it was Rocket Can pulling the minor upset.
It's a confident Tyler Gaffleone on the classy Tumba Rumba, who turns for home on top with work to do as Rocket Can tries to go get him. Dropping back is Cape Trafalgar and Digital Ops. They're on their way home. Rocket Can lays down the challenge to Tumba Rumba, and the Rocket has made the lead. Tumba Rumba fights hard, but we're going to the first finish line, and Rocket Can will win it. Rocket Can for Frank Fletcher wins the Harlan's Holiday by a length. Tumba Rumba was second. Steel Sunshine closed ground to be third in 145 flat.
Yep, Tumba Rumba's going to try to become a 2-time winner of this race. There's only been 2 of them. Really interesting fact about this one, Creme Fraiche won this race, the Hooper, twice. In 1988, the race was run in March and again in December of the same year. So a back-to-back winner twice in 1988, Creme Fraiche. Again, Tumba Rumba will try to win the race he won last year. He's lost 6 cents, 5 of them as second-place finishes. So if you want to take a shot maybe with the fresh face, maybe Upstanding, as you mentioned, Luis Saez, 6-time winner of the Hooper, that 1/3 mile, a specialist distance sometimes for horses, and jockeys ride it well, can ride it well better than others as well. So maybe something to look at there. Let's change gears now and go to the next on the card. It's the W.L. McKnight, the William L. McKnight, named for the former chairman of 3M and owner of Tartan Farms, owned the great Dr. Feger, and He only lived to be 90 years old, Jeff, as I went and did a little research. Mr. McKnight's race, name for him, has been one dominated in recent years by Mike Maker. Maker's a 5-time winner of this race, and all 5 of Maker's wins have come in the last 8 years in the McKnight. He's got Kafkin Peak in here, a transfer to his barn he's had for a little while now, and also Yamato. Is it Mike Maker, or is it somebody else in the McKnight?
I was thinking about what you were talking about, living to 100, and problem with Mr. McKnight is that his trainer Johnny Neighbor didn't care about the Derby, so he had no Derby horse to look forward to. So that's why he didn't make it to 100. But this is another one of these whatever races for me, because I look at Bold Act, and I always, when it comes to these kind of races, I usually default to Charlie Appleby and Godolphin. So he's an easy horse to pick on top until you realize that he's tried this 4 other times and hasn't won yet. So do you trust him? I don't. I mean, he'll run well, and he certainly ran well in the Sycamore, although that was just a grade 3. But this really does not look like the strongest turf division. Again, I'm looking at horses that are maybe improving, moving up the ladder, ready to break through. And then I look at horses like Rock Emperor, who's been around for 100 years. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he's due. And one of my favorite riders out there right now is William Buick. I just think he's incredibly talented. I think he's a Flavian Pratt level type of rider, or maybe even better. I don't know. But bottom line is, I ended up with Bold Act, and I don't like the gamble here. But I wish I could find something that I liked, and I don't. Maybe you can talk me into something.
I think Yamato gives the Maker a real chance in here. He's coming off a couple races on the synthetic, but you go back to his turf form, his marathon turf form, it's all very good. And, coming off the synthetic can be a good tune-up for horses and a good prep. So he got, just really too short of a race, mile 70, mile and 16th in his last couple. Now you get Saez going long again. I give Yamato a shot in here to keep that Maker Express going. Irad Ortiz is on cash equity to the outside, a horse who's probably been going a little shorter than his pedigree suggests. I mean, he's got good international French pedigree there, and out of a High Chaparral, a Sire Tornado. So I think that horse has probably been begging to go a little bit longer than the mile and 16th, mile and 8th that he's been running. Cash equity, though, is going to be on the outside in a 3-turn race. That's no picnic from out there. So he'll have a challenge in front of him. You've got the classy horse in here, Bold Act. Let's go back and watch him in the Sycamore running a very good second at Keeneland over the same trip in the fall.
Data Man moving up on the outside. Data Man starts to draw alongside of Kafkin Peak, just over a quarter mile to go. 3 more lengths then back to Segoy in third. Big Blue Line has come up the rail in fourth. 5 lengths off the lead. Bold Act still has 5 to make up as they turn for home. Here's Bold Act coming on along with Highway Robber. Highway Robber, Bold Act, Highway Robber. These two coming forward. Utah Beach to third. It is Highway Robber alongside of Bold Act contesting the lead and contesting for the win. Highway Robber and Bold Act. Bold Act, Highway Robber, heads bobbing on the line. Photo in the feature for the Sycamore.
Tough way to lose at the end of a mile and a half. Jeff, I go back to my days as a chart caller, and one of the things I noticed most when charting races was the impact of the first turn. And horses that are drawn wide and lose ground on the first turn, when you think about defeats like that, a head bob, it comes down. Yes, the horse who beat him closed outside of him on the second turn, but people don't realize the ground loss on the first turn, and all those feet add up. And when you look at a horse like Bold Act, he had the 3-turn race out of the 11 hole last time. He's got a much better draw here. Had he not been in the 11 hole, maybe he gets that extra foot that he needs in that kind of race. And so the first turn, a major impact, especially going into the clubhouse turn with a wide draw. But here in these 3-turn races, you don't want to lose ground on that first turn when you still have a mile and 3/8 left to run. I mean, it's just wasted ground at that point. It doesn't do you any good to lose ground on the first turn. Second turn, if you lose some ground, sometimes it can keep you from stunting your momentum, right? You can kind of keep rolling outside. But on that first turn, there is no benefit whatsoever to losing ground.
Well, the other thing about Bold Act in that race is he tried to win. It wasn't like he just kind of waved the white flag and got nailed. And I had this vision of, because I remember watching that race and I wasn't sure who won the race because they were bobbing their heads. And I had this vision coming back when the horses to resaddle and they posted the numbers and Bold Act would be doing this, like doing the NBA. I want to review, I mean, let's review this official review because I think, he thought he won and that's good enough for me. So even though I mentioned earlier that he hadn't won yet, that was a winning race. And again, you can consider the connections and everything that goes along with it. He's the right horse. He may not be the right horse to bet. I'm intrigued with the horse that you mentioned, Yamato. He's a proven classic, marathon type of horse, and this will be him at his best. And I noticed that maybe when he runs against Grade 1 horses, he's not up to the task. Well, that's true, but this is not really a Grade 1 race. So,
right.
I think he's where he should be, and I think he's a major contender, and arguably the one that Boldak has to worry about the most.
You've got Appleby. I've got Maker. That's a pretty good combo when you're going a mile and a half on the grass in a North American Stakes race. Let's go next at Gulfstream Park to the 10th. It's the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. The Filly and Mare Turf here in race number 10 starts off the $10 money back specials. If you bet win bets with first bet and express bet on this race, if your horse finishes second or third, you get up to $10 back into your account. Jeff, we've got one in here who really made an impression on Breeders' Cup weekend on the undercard in the Gold Dakova. Her name is Rakia. Let's go back and take a look at her win at Del Mar and talk about her chances in the Filly and Mare Turf on Pegasus Day.
The stretch, and it is Kathmandu outside of Rakia. Rakia still on top and kicks away. Kathmandu gives way. Here's Uncorked, moving quickly on the outside, but Rakia's got plenty left. Rakia uncorked down to the wire. Rakia from Uncorked, and then came Sacred Wish in third.
Well, this was
Sharp way there to close her 3-year-old season. She'll take on older horses again. She beat Elders in the Gold Dakova. Here she's got 4 and ups to deal with, but she's got a distance. It's longer than she's run in her career, Jeff. She's running 6 and 7 furlongs in Europe. This was a mile at Del Mar. She stretches out to the mile and a 16th. It's not that much farther. Can she carry her speed? She's on the inside. You would expect Frankie Dettori to put her on the engine again.
Didn't look like she was getting tired of me. I think she can get another 16th of a mile. And this is, if you look at the race, visually, it looked like she was really reaching out in the final stages of that race. Beautiful stride, beautiful action, quick action, turn of foot, all that good stuff. And then you look at the clock and you say, wait a minute, she came home in 22 and 3. So the clock matched the visual there. So. And here's the thing about Rakia. She's got the rail, which means if they hand her the lead, they'll never see her. But she doesn't need the lead to win. I mean, she's not going to be way back or anything like that. But even if someone wants the front end, all she'll do is tuck in, sit there, and go. And with the way the race shapes up, I mean, she may not be in front, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think this is a high-quality filly who is, as you mentioned, sprinting most of her career, and maybe she's always been a miler, wanting to be a miler, and finally getting her chance. So, again, I think that she's solid here. Frankie knows her, rode her out here at Del Mar. The race has already been franked. The third place finisher came back and won the Matriarch. So it was a real race, and she's a real filly. I think she wins again.
That third place finisher you mentioned, Sacred Wish, she's back in this race. She's a contender for sure. To the outside, See You Around is one I'm very interested in here at 20-1 in the morning line. Like Rakia, this is an export who's had a start or two over the ground here in the U.S., but with all the rain we've had this week at Gulfstream Park, the softer turf conditions, I love the Europeans in this kind of situation over the American-based horses. See You Around's a horse. We talked about the good-looking visual finish and the strong numbers on the clock for Rakia. She got a 95 Bristol pace figure when going wire to wire. That's remarkable. Now, look at See You Around's race in the Tropical Park Oaks. I get it that it was just 3-year-olds and it was listed stakes company. Big step up in class here. But they went to the half in 47 and change, and she got a 100 Bristol pace figure after pressing 47 and 4 to the half. So that is an exceptional finish. I think she's a lot better than she looks on paper. Irad Ortiz obviously jumps to ride another one in here for a bigger barn that our barn that he rides for more often. He's taken Donna Clota for Ignacio Correas. He doesn't ride a ton for Christophe Clement. Clement gets Ocean Murphy though. So I think this is an interesting horse. See You Around if she can work out a trip. It's a very difficult post from out there, but she's 20-1 in the morning line versus 4-1 in the morning line, and maybe lower on Rakia by post time. I expect her maybe somewhere in the 2-1, 5-2 range. I think she'll be solidly favored, but not overwhelming favored in this spot. I like the price on See You Around in here. And I mentioned Donna Clota. What do we do with her? I watched the videotape of her running down in Chile. She's got a wonderful turn of foot. I don't know who she was running past, but she quickened. She looked good on video. And I get a feeling this is the horse that Jose Ortiz is here to ride for the weekend. He's dominating the standings at Fairgrounds, just running roughshod over that meet. He's here. He doesn't have a big mount in the big race. This looks like maybe Donna Clota, the Argentine or the Chilean for Nacho Correas, might be the one that Jose Ortiz is here to ride for the weekend. She's interesting in here too. This is a fun race.
She could be anything. One thing about these South Americans when they come up here, you don't know what you're getting because the full crops are small. You might be in a weak crop. You just don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. But if you're winning grade ones or group one races, as Donna Clota has done, at least, you have a fighting chance. And who knows how good she is. She's one going a mile and a half. She's one going a mile. I mean, I don't know how good she is. She's what I call stranger danger, Yeah. You just don't know. But, I mean, sometimes they run ninth and then you'll find out that they're not that good, but sometimes they're the real deal. So I'm intrigued by her. As for the filly you mentioned, she's drawn poorly, but that adds to the price. A lot of handicappers, and in grass races, I'm not that demanding, but a lot of handicappers don't want to take some horse going a mile 1/16 at Gulfstream on turf from way out there. And there's a reason for it, as you mentioned. So you instead of getting 10-1, you're getting 20. So maybe it's worth a gamble or a saver if nothing else.
Right.
But it's a good race. This is a legitimate race. These are good fillies, and I think Rakia is really, really, really good.
And I had this race for the wager guide. I contemplated just taking Rakia on top and focusing on the tries and supers in here because you got a lot of depth. So if you like the favorite in here and you're saying, yeah, but I don't want to take 3-1, 5-2, or whatever she might end up in price on the win end, this is a good race for exotic. So you don't have to just fish unless you have a horse you like. I do like the horse. I do like the price on the outside. So we'll see what we can do there. 112. Let's bookend them in the filly and mare turf.
I can live with that.
Let's go to the 11th race next up on the program as I try to get through a little coughing fit here.
I think I had your cough on your sickness about 2 months ago. You'll be fine in like May, I think.
All right, well, good. I'll be ready for Derby time at least.
Right. I mean, it's like the 100-day cold that was going around, So
we go to the inside information stakes next. It's race number 11 on the card. We did the podcast on Tuesday, Jeff, and a bunch of times while you were talking, all of a sudden I threw the graphic up on the screen because I was having a sneezing fit on Tuesday during the podcast. So if people are like, that's a weird time to be throwing the graphics up there, it's a little inside baseball. There was sickness going on here on this side.
Yeah, no, I mean, it serves a purpose, if nothing else. So.
To the inside information, we go race number 11, named for the 1995 Breeders' Cup Distaff winner, champion older mare that year, Hall of Famer. She only won 14-17. Jeff, the one thing about inside information is most remarkable, maybe her 13.5 length victory in the Breeders' Cup Distaff in 1995 is still the record margin for the biggest blowout in Breeders' Cup history, and it's the biggest margin by 3.5 lengths. I mean, it's just there haven't been many double-digit victories. I think Street Sense's 10-length juvenile win was the second largest blowout, but when you have a record by 3.5 lengths, it was total domination for inside information. The race in her name, the former Shug McGahee trainee, has a decent field in here, but I think we've got a pretty solid favorite in Emery. She's not the morning line favorite, but I would be shocked if she's not bet hard.
Well, I picked her because of her form, which is outstanding. 7 starts, 5 wins in its second. Got that lovely outside draw. She's got an outstanding style for this distance, whereas she can sit outside and move when she wants to move because no one's going to be outside of her. So the jock can just sit there, and then go ahead and open up. Numbers are very consistent. I just think that based on the fact that she's fresh, that shouldn't bother her. She won her debut. She can run well fresh. Work pattern at Payson Park looks good. That's a deep track. You don't have to work fast to be fit. Mm-hmm. And I think Brad Cox has got her in the right spot and could not have picked a better draw. So I like Emery to win this race. And again, she's never really run a bad race other than in a sloppy track in the Frizette where she was even money following her win. And, sloppy tracks, you never know what you're going to get. But hopefully it'll be dry, fast, and to her liking. Emery for me to win the inside information.
Last time we saw her was the Raven Run at Keeneland in the fall. Here's Kurt Becker.
From there, Hall and Ice has to go wide. Still 7 from the front. Emery at the quarter pole is moving forward to challenge Fibber for the lead. Emery off the far turn and into the stretch. Has a narrow lead. Fibber second toward the inside. VV's Dream, then My Main Squeeze. Now, My Main Squeeze has come from last. She's third. She's switching toward the outside, but there's less than a furlong to go. And Emery has the lead. Fibber second. My Main Squeeze still third. Emery past the 16th pole, maintains a 3-length advantage. Emery, Tyler Gaffalione to win the Lexus Raven Run.
Gaffalione will be back aboard on Saturday aboard Emery. She is 5 for 7 lifetime. The filly who's the challenger in here, Nick Style, 5 for 6 lifetime. So you got someone who love to run up the wins. Bill Mott trains Nick Style. She's a 5-year-old Emery. Of course, the 4-year-old defending champ in this race, Olivia Darling, looking for back-to-back wins in the Inside Information Stakes. She's coming off a win in Allowance Company, second off the layoff, prepped nicely into this for Jorge Delgado for her title defense. So we will see. But I think in terms of the late pick 4, the pick 5, if you're looking at those hit and splits and the big pools that we're going to be looking at for the pick 4s and pick 5s, to me, this feels like the single of the sequence to me, Jeff. I think Emery's going to be very tough to beat in the Inside Information.
Yeah, Nick Style is good, but she's inside. And the race we just saw, the Raven Run, looks like a blackboard race to the one we're going to see on Saturday. And Nick Style, I like her, but she's considerably slower on speed figures than Emery. So I think that's the reason why I'm all in on Emery.
From the dirt to the turf we go, the Pegasus World Cup turf. Next up on the card at Gulfstream Park, it'll be race number 12. A Pegasus World Cup turf. Grade 1 company in here, and we've got a purse of $1 million over the 9 furlongs. Let's take a look at the field for the Pegasus World Cup turf. 14 have entered, 12 can run, so also eligible to the outside in Fort Washington and Paros. Morning line favorite in here is Nation's Pride, Charlie Appleby, William Buick. This is their main player for the day. Nation's Pride at 2-1. Integration defending or beaten favorite in this race last year. Won the Arlington Million last year. Integration's a horse who comes in with stablemate Battle of Normandy. Both of them for trainer Shug McGahee. They're going to represent the Americans, going heads up with Nation's Pride and some others in here. What do you make of the McGahee duo, Jeff, as we saw them work here at Payson Park on XBTV?
Well, Battle of Normandy is going to better of the two. That's pretty obvious in this breeze, but it's a dirt work. And I don't know, maybe he likes the dirt, maybe Integration doesn't. So I wouldn't really put too much stock into it. I tried Integration, though, before, and he's a good horse. I just don't think he's a top horse, and maybe he doesn't have to be a top horse in this race. Battle of Normandy is a developing horse, but if you spit on the ground for him, he's not that happy. In other words, he wants it really firm. So I got to look and see how fast they're running on grass early on before I jump on his bandwagon. And I certainly would think that Battle of Normandy, because he's so genuine, will run well. But the one that really intrigues me here is a horse that on pure form, I think he's 15-1 in the morning line, and based on form, he probably should be. But Formidable Man is, I know him. He's been out here in Del Mar. I watched him run. He's a pro's pro. I mean, even though he just turned 4, he's a racehorse. I mean, I don't think the numbers do him justice. I mean, he won the Oceanside, he won the Del Mar Derby, he won the Hollywood Derby, all 3 at Del Mar. And you might say, well, maybe he just loves Del Mar. I don't think so, because he's run well at Santa Anita as well. And he's a City of Light. And I don't expect to see City of Light offspring do anything terrific until they're older, as he was. And I think you're seeing a development here of Formidable Man where he's getting better and better and better. And I don't think anybody really appreciates the progress that he's made. He's drawn beautifully in the 2-hole. He's got enough tactical speed to sit 3rd or 4th behind the leaders, get some cover. He's relentless in the drive. He's a big number. If he's no better than what he's been, he probably isn't good enough to win. But I'm not banking on that. I think he's going to continue to get better. I mean, horses play prices because they're better than you think. And I think Formidable Man is just that. And Umberto Dispoli knows him well, good grass rider. I think at a price, Formidable Man has got a really good chance to outrun his odds and maybe even pull off the surprise.
4-year-old with just 10 career starts, 5 of those wins. There's a lot of ceiling still left with a horse like this. Whereas you get with some of these older handicap turf horses, you know what they are. We don't know yet on Formidable Man, but we know at Del Mar he became a Hollywood Derby winner.
They're coming to the top of the stretch. Donegal momentum off the turn in front. Still the one to beat. Formidable Man runs up on the outside, and these two arrive into the final furlong together. Stay Hot rallies up the fence, and then to the outside comes King of Gosford, but it's Formidable Man in front close to home. Formidable Man's going to do it. Formidable Man and Umberto Rispoli take the Hollywood Derby. Then King of Gosford, followed by Stay.
Good to see so many Southern California horses coming east for the Pegasus World Cup turf. Sister track Santa Anita and Gulfstream. A lot of support here. Balnikoff is coming from the West Coast. Mi Hermano Ramon, winner of the Seabiscuit. Del Mar, just a good second to Johannes in the San Gabriel. Mi Hermano Ramon's last start would certainly be good enough to win this race if he runs it back, Jeff. No Johannes in this particular spot. What do we make of the morning line favorite Nation's Pride here? This is the horse who ran 10th, beaten 20 lengths in Bahrain last time in November. But last time seen in America, he beat Integration in a 1-2 finish in the Arlington Million. I think I said Integration earlier, won the Arlington Million last year. He was second in the Arlington Million, won the Million preview. Nation's Pride, he's a bit up and down. When he's good, he's pretty good. When he's not, he's not. I don't want to take a short price on a horse that has some consistency issues.
That's my problem with Nation's Pride. If you tell me he's good enough to win, I'd say, of course he's good enough to win. Will he be good enough to win on this particular day? I've seen him run really well. I've seen him run not so well. So you have to give him a good chance, and you can't be surprised if he wins. But again, this is a gambling exercise. I know one thing about Formidable Man. I trust him. I know he's going to run as good as he can run, maybe better than he's ever run. Whether or not that's good enough, but I'm gambling on someone that I know is going to go out there and fire. Yeah. I don't get that same feeling with Nation's Pride. I do know that on his best day, he's obviously going to be tough, but I don't want to take a short price on him in a race like this.
Good race to utilize that money back special. If you finish second or third, get up to your $10 back in here. Good gambling race. When we talk about those late pick fours and pick fives, and if you're playing the Rainbow Six on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, this is a race to me. I think you want to get some coverage. I think the Pegasus turf could go a lot of different ways and some potential prices. Like Jeff's talking about a nice price in Formidable Man. Maybe you can get a nice bomber in there. 15-1 in the morning line. Let's go now to the main event on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, the 9th running of the Pegasus World Cup. It'll be race number 13 on a 13-race card, broadcast live on NBC. I believe the broadcast gets underway 4:30 to 6, so be sure to check that out. If you're not playing with us online with ExpressBet and FirstBet, watch it with the network. We've got a field of 12 entered for this year's Pegasus World Cup, and the morning line favorite is locked at 5-2, coming off a win in the Cigar Mile. Second choice, White Abarrio, the Breeders' Cup Classic winner from 2 years ago. 2023. We'll see if he can get back to his best form. He's been training pretty well in South Florida. Let's take a look at some XBTV video of White Abarrio in training. He's working with Silver Moonlight. He's to the inside in this race. And Jeff, I always say when horses are working to the inside, they're trying to keep them interested and get them into the race a little bit more. You know, you want to see a little bit of aggression out of a horse who's working inside of others. And Safi Joseph mentioned after the poor start and the slow break in the Mr. Prospector sprinting, his horse came with a good run, but he said, we're going to have to get out of the gate a little bit better with this horse and be more into the mix. We know the Pegasus World Cup is a race that's played to speed over the years. White Abarrio, I expect him to be a little closer to the pace this time, and I think they're training him that way.
Maybe even sitting second early on. I don't think he wants to lead, to be on the lead.
Right.
But he's certainly looking good here, beating a stablemate and doing it the right way, into the bridle, sharp, wanting to do more, not being asked to do more, which he doesn't need more. He's fit, and galloping out with plenty left in the tank. So I think White Abarrio is spot on. We know how well he runs at Gulfstream. He's won 6 out of 8 there. He won his comeback by 10, triple-digit buyer, came back and didn't get off cleanly and did well to finish as well as he did to finish second in the Mr. Prospector. So
Great.
I think he's going to break. I think they'd like to see Saudi Crown inside of him go and then use him as a target if he can. My issue, though, in this race, and you know I'm a big lock booster. I made a prediction that I thought he had a very good chance of being the best older handicap runner in the country this year. And I didn't really want to pick against him, but that's a killer post. He's way out there. What do they win from the 11 hole, like once every other Haley's Comet spot.
Yeah, we don't get many 11s on the dirt, period,
No,
but
that's
in
true.
American racing.
But
yeah.
I mean, the statistics are against him. And the other problem with that is if he was one of these horses that could bust out of the gate and get over real quick, I wouldn't care. But he's not that quick early on.
Mm.
He kind of has to get into his momentum and get some of his momentum going and then gradually move up, which you can do around one turn. You don't have to worry about that. But if you pointed this out, if you blow that first turn, you may never get over,
Right.
And because of that, I look for him as a favorite to have to overcome something that he really shouldn't have to overcome, but he's going to have to do it. And White Abario is they're handing a great trip on a silver platter for him. So, given the fact that White Abario is proven on the track, I think he's in great form. He's training great, going to get a great trip. That leads me to want to maybe pick against Locke and go with White Abario as my top selection, which I'm going to do.
Saudi Crown could be potential lone speed here in post 2. Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, coming off a win in the Tenacious. This is a horse who last year was in the Louisiana Stakes, won that at Fairgrounds, and then just went straight over to Saudi. Things worked out pretty well, running a good third in the rich $20 million Saudi Cup. They show up here this year off a win in the Tenacious, second start off the Breeders' Cup break. This seems like a good spot for him, and he's got a great post draw. There's not a lot of other early pace in here. I'm not even really sure who's going to try to bust with him. Maybe Newgrange will try to show a little bit out of the 3-hole and take advantage of him also having a fair post position in there. But there is not a lot of pace in this race, and we talk about how it's favored speed over the years in the Pegasus World Cup. Race has been run 8 times. No winners come from more than 3 lengths off the pace, and many of them were just right up on the engine all the way through. So a lot points to Saudi Crown in here. He would be no shock whatsoever to take these a long, long way. White Abario, like you said, he might be sitting second, third, and get that chance to just make that one pop. What about Mystic Dan, the Kentucky Derby winner from last year? A puzzling race that he ran in the Malibu out your way at Santa Anita. Never got into the mix at all. That was after a long van ride out there. A little bit easier travel to Florida this time of year, going by plane and settled in, obviously. For Mystic Dan's a horse who got to work over the track at Gulfstream for a couple weeks before the race. What do we make of him? I watched his workouts. I thought they were kind of scrubbing on him a little bit. I know he ran a big time 59 change, got the bullet on January 18th, but the exercise rider was asking. It wasn't 59 completely on his own. I'm concerned that he gets his good form back. He's run a couple, mystifying races, obviously the Belmont, and then went south for the rest of the year. But that Malibu race was just kind of a strange one. I always thought for him, the best campaign for him was probably something like New Orleans Handicap, Oaklawn Handicap, Stephen Foster. Like that looked like to me what his spring would look like as a 4-year-old. It didn't seem to me to be Malibu Pegasus World Cup, but that's where we're at.
Maybe it's because he won the Derby that they're doing that. They have a reputation to uphold, and the Mystic Dan that I saw out here in California in the Malibu, that's a horse I would never bet a nickel on. I mean, until he shows me he wants to be a racehorse. And in that race, they took him back. They didn't want to get him gutted, pressing the pace. He relaxed beautifully. Was asked to run a 5/16 pole. There was absolutely nothing. So little that the jock actually took a hold of him and wanted to protect him. I can't take him. I tell you what, though, there's a couple of horses that I think will run well. I don't think they'll win, but I think Mixto is going to run well. Always runs well. He doesn't always win or anything like that, but I think he can clunk up and get a piece of it because he's going to be saving ground, and that's a good spot for him. And I have a hunch that Skippy Longstocking is going to make a run. Again, he's going to come from too far back. They've even talked about taking him back, dropping over, and making a run. And I think he'll run well that day. I don't think that's a winning move, and he may not be good enough anyway, but I mean, he's another one of these horses that he's run well on this track before, and I think he's a horse, if you're playing exactas, tries, supers, whatever, I think he's going to be in the frame somewhere. So those are the two price horses maybe I like. But you mentioned Saudi Crown on loose in the lead, and that's one of the reasons why I think Safi can read a form too, and I think he's going to hopefully he'll have his horse, White Abario, sitting right in the firing line and then go from there.
To me, this just seems like a three-way play if you're playing the multi-race wagers. I just can't see it getting beyond Saudi Crown as potential lone speed for Brad Cox, White Abario with the class and a great post position, and a horse who loves the track, a Florida Derby winner with Irad, and then Locked. If Locked is just the best, he's the best. I mean, to beat those three horses, and you got Johnny V and Pletcher with Locked, who's only once beaten in his last 6, I believe. I don't see how you get beyond those three. I mean, it's a monumental upset to me if all three of them misfire and somebody's able to beat all three. So if you're looking at the multi-race wagers, I think it's 3 deep or less. If you have a stronger opinion on one of those three, then I could see maybe even locking down a bit more. But to get beyond those three, somebody's going to have to do a lot of work. So if you try to play a price in this race, I would say you've got to be 20, 30 to 1 if you're going to try to beat all three of those horses. This is not a race to play a horse who's like 9 to 1, 12 to 1. Like, that's no man's land. You're not getting enough for the risk that you're taking to beat all three of those horses who have some favorable situations. Locked has the disfavorable situation, but might be the best horse. To beat all three of those, you better get paid.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, so if you need more information on the Pegasus World Cup card, again, if you're in the wager guide and you're watching this video, you already know, tell your friends, but the first Pegasus wager guide, first.com/guide will get you there for more information on the Pegasus World Cup card, artificial intelligence information, first bet win projections from the computer and the AI, all that stuff in the wager guide. Be sure to check it out. First.com/guide. All right, let's switch up now from Gulfstream. We've got 2 bonus races for you, if you will, this weekend in our handicapping podcast. We're going to Oaklawn for the Southwest Stakes. These are 3-year-olds on the Arkansas Derby Trail. $1 million, the purse here for the Southwest Stakes. And Jeff Siegel, we've got a couple big names in this race. We've got Gaming down on the rail, and we've got Patch Adams towards the outside. This is a rare Cox-Baffert showdown early in the campaign trail like this, and it's going to tell us a lot about the regions. Of course, Gaming coming out of the Low South Futurity, give us a little bit more line on Journalism, who incidentally was back on the workout tab yesterday for the first time since that race in December, so it was good to see him back on the workout tab. Gaming will tell us a little bit about the West Coast horses, and Patch Adams, so dominant in that win at Churchill last fall, he's going to give us a sense of where Brad Cox's hierarchy ranks as we hit the end of January.
You know, I looked at this race, and Gaming got the rail. He's got a race with not a lot of pace in there. Mm-hmm. He's training extremely well. Juan Hernandez is winning every race in Siegel in California. Flavian Prop might as well stay back where he is because Hernandez is just beyond belief how good he's been so far. But I have this nagging feeling that Gaming really isn't that good. Mm-hmm. Good, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I don't own him. But he breaks his maiden first time out against 2 horses that are still maidens, and they're not even good maidens. Rank and Brother Tony, they may not break their maiden for months. Then you come back and you win the Del Mar Futurity, beating Mackenzie Street, who has been handed his head since then against the good 3-year-olds here. He's not competitive. That's who he beat in the Del Mar Futurity. Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he runs second in a race in which it was like a merry-go-round race. Nobody made any move. It was slow fractions over speed favoring track. He sat second, never did anything. He just kind of clunked around there. Hill Road is okay, I guess, to finish third, but he was way far back. Then he runs in the Los Alamitos Futurity, and he gets beaten off by Getaway Car, who's like Baffert's third stringer, not to mention Journalism. So I can't embrace him. He'll probably outrun the best race of his life, given the circumstances here. But if he's the 2-to-1 morning line favorite, which he is, and then I look at Patch Adams, I'm saying, which one would you rather have? I mean, Patch Adams is a real horse. I mean, he's legit. Into Mischief Colt, given a run first time out, wasn't really that cranked up. Come back, improves his buyer number by 16 points in a 1-turn, 7/8 and 20 and change. Does it the right way, wasn't even knocked about. Comes back with a series of bullet work since then, picks up Pratt, and stretching out the classic 2 sprints and a stretch out. I mean, if I can get 5-2, I mean, I'm all over that. Now, I don't think I will. You know,
right.
In fact, I think Patch Adams will be favored. Maybe not because Baffert.
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
You know, Baffert wins everything at Oaklawn, and I think the public down there will recognize that. But I just think Patch Adams is one of the top 3 horses in the entire division, and he's doing it the right way. He's not jumping into the deep end yet. He's building up his resume, building up his foundation. And I think Patch Adams is a real horse.
This is the race that launched Mystic Dan last year. If you recall, he ran off in the slop and dominated in the Southwest and became a legitimate threat on going on to win the Derby. The race that launched Patch Adams into our consciousness was his second career start. It was a maiden race at Churchill in November. Let's go back to Travis Stone's call.
That's the one trying to go with Patch Adams, but Patch Adams has kicked it into high gear. 5 in front and opening up with each and every stride. Patch Adams finishes with a flourish and is geared down to win it by 10.
Patch Adams. I got a kick out of Emily Gullickson's tweet the other day saying, if you were going to name a horse after a Robin Williams movie, you could have picked a better one than Patch Adams. He had so many. But Patch Adams, a 10-length winner last time out. He goes into his first stakes. There are some stakes experienced horses in here like Tiz-tastic, a horse who was second to Sovereignty in the street sense, third in the Kentucky Jockey Club behind First Resort. He goes for Steve Asmussen Barn, who, I think has plenty of success on the Oak Lawn Trail each and every year. This could be Asmussen's best horse right now. Tiz the Law named Tiz-tastic to keep an eye on in this particular spot. To the outside, Speed King gets a tough draw, but comes off a determined second in the Springboard Mile, a race where Cole Battle's already come back at Oak Lawn to win the first leg of the Arkansas Derby Series, winning the Smarty Jones a month ago. So Speed King trying to become the second horse out of the Springboard Mile to win a major stakes at Oak Lawn on the Arkansas Derby Trail. That $1 million race goes as race number 10 Saturday in Hot Springs. It's going to give us a good sense of some regional barometers as we try to figure out where the strength is in this 2025 crop. I'm not quite sure where it lies at this point. I'm kind of punching in the dark with these 3-year-olds right now trying to get them figured out. We've got older horses at Santa Anita to talk about in the San Pasquale. We know these a little bit more in their form set for the San Pasquale at 1 1/8 miles. Grade 2 race, again, a prep for the March 1st Santa Anita Handicap. The San Pasquale, named for the community just a couple miles down the road from Santa Anita. New Grange has won this race the past 2 years, but he's off to the Pegasus World Cup. But fear not, we've got Express Train, who won it the 2 years prior to that. Express Train's going for a rare three-peat, and yet he wasn't in this race the past 2 years. So he's trying to win his third in a row, 2021, 2022, and 25. Express Train now 8 years old for trainer John Sheriffs. Jeff, you like one who's a little bit younger, though, half the age, Imagination.
And I don't trust Imagination. I mean, I picked him. I made him the favorite. But you look at his form, he has not won a race since the San Felipe. And that was March 3rd of last year. And it's not like he hasn't had an opportunity to win. I mean, he's been in good races. He's been in races he should have been able to win. He was in an allowance race 2 races back and got beaten that race. So he can lose to anybody. Trust me. But I made him favorite because I think it's his turn. If you look at this field, they all take turns. It's like, okay, I'll win this one, and then I'll win another one 3 months down the road. They all have that same thing. I mean, when was the last race that Express Train won? I mean, you got to go back
2022.
The
big cap.
Do I want that?
Yeah.
And I've watched him run, and this horse, in every one of his recent races, he's gotten to a point at the top of the stretch where you say to yourself, okay, finally he's going to fire. He's going to blow by everybody, and then nothing. So I'm not taking Express Train. Tarantino is in form. Maybe it's his turn. I don't have a opinion other than Imagination did earn a triple-digit buyer number in his last race in the Malibu when he ran a good third. Even then, he had no real excuse, but he ran good. And I don't see anybody in here capable of doing that. So maybe he's due. Again, maybe not a good gamble at 8-5. I put Imagination on top, but I'm really more curious to find out whose turn it is than who's going to actually win it. Because someone's going to bump up here and you're going to say, I don't know. Maybe
I'm kind of interested in some rail speed with Tarantino. Just take the variables out, right? I mean, it's the easiest trip around there. You know his running style. He's going to try to go to the front, and he's run some races that kind of put him in the mix. Maybe not the fastest horse in the race, but he's run, close to triple-digit buyers in the past, and maybe on his best day, he might be worth a price shot in here. Now, you mentioned Imagination coming out of that Malibu Stakes. Also, a horse in the Malibu last time out was Stronghold, who ran second. He's going in the Pegasus World Cup. So let's give the fans a chance to see the Malibu Stakes, to see Imagination last out, but also keep an eye on the runner-up and here, Stronghold. If you're trying to weigh his chances in the Pegasus World Cup, you get a chance here to see him in his most recent start.
Frankie Dettori getting after Raging Torrent, trying to close the gap in second. Imagination traveling kindly at the rail in third. Stronghold makes his move on the outside. It's a gap of 5 to Winterfell. Nothing yet from Mystic Dam. They passed the quarter pole and turn for home. Pilot Commander's been there every step of the way. There's room for Imagination coming through as Stronghold puts his head in front on the outside. They're in the final furlong, and it's Raging Torrent. Stronghold coming gamely after him, and down at the rail, Imagination. Raging Torrent by 2 past the 16th pole, and Raging Torrent and Frankie Dettori cruise to victory in the Malibu.
All right, that was a look at the Malibu. Imagination, Jeff's top pick there in the San Pasquale. Any final word you want to give on that Santa Anita card on Saturday?
Pretty good card. This race is challenging for sure. By the way, you saw Imagination get a pristine rail skimming, dead aim in every chance trip, and then doesn't finish. The horse that you mentioned, Tarantino, the good news is he's beaten Imagination. Everybody has, but still, that was good. And then, but he was claimed for $40,000, and it just shows you $40,000 claim last summer at Del Mar is now among the better older handicap runners. There's not that much difference. Tell me. I mean, you can take a so-called $40,000 claimer and run them in races like that, and you're not out of the woods at all. In fact, your horse, he's 5 to 2 second choice. He's the one to beat. So that's a commentary on Express Train and all these other horses who've been around forever and just are what they are. So
now Stronghold is out of town. I mean, give him some credit. I think Stronghold would be a pretty nice older horse in Southern California. He's running in the Pegasus World Cup, but we get back to big cap and races like that. You got to think Stronghold's going to be one of the better handicap division horses out there for a while.
Well, I would think so. And he's another one who seems like he can't seal the deal. He's like a better version of Imagination where he runs better, but he still doesn't. He always kind of gets there and then doesn't get there. So you know real horses when you see them, and this is a good competitive group, but they are where they belong. They don't belong in Florida, I'm telling you.
That'll wrap up the podcast for this week. We hope you have good luck wagering on the Pegasus World Cup, the Santa Anita card, and of course, we also looked at the big race at Oakland on the Southwest this weekend. For more on the Southwest and the 3-year-old scene, be sure to go to countdowntothecrown.com. That's my website with my weekly scouting report. You can also sign up at Substack, jeremyplonk.substack.com, and get that handicapping information sent to you each and every week. Jeff's got full card analysis for Santa Anita each and every racing day at expressbet.com, news.first.com, and also on the XBTV website, Santa Anita website. You can find Jeff anywhere there's California racing. His information is out there. We want to welcome everybody who is watching through the Wager Guide to enjoy the Wager Guide and play this weekend. Early bird wagering is open today, Friday, for the Saturday card at Gulfstream Park. Jeff, I'm going to give you the final word before we hit the first big weekend of 2025.
I'm wondering whether Patch Adams will run well enough and win, obviously, in Oakland, to leapfrog all the horses that Jeremy has in his Countdown to Cup rankings. I'm wondering what's the chances of that happening. That's possible.
He's middling right now. I think he's like 12, 13, 14, something like that, but he's got a chance to make a big move. As soon as he goes around 2 turns, which is going to be on Saturday, that's what we're going to find out about.
I'm interested in that, but I'm also interested in watching all those great races, good gambling races at Florida. Gulfstream Park has a fantastic card. Many Breeders' Cup type of horses will be seen on Saturday, and the ones that win will step up to the best races, and we'll see who they are. So great racing this weekend, good gambling, and can't wait to see it.
Jeff and I will be back on Tuesday, as we are each and every week, for the It's Official podcast when we wrap up the weekend and tackle 5 hot topics in horse racing. Have a great Pegasus, everyone.